Alright, manga, you know them, you love them. I love about 100 of them. And so, let's rank those from number 100 to number 1. And if you happen to get upset by anything on this list, please let me know. I would love to be your anger management. I have some additional context and little disclaimers in the description. Feel free to read that if you care about it, but you probably don't, so let's just get started. Getting into the top 100, I want to start by talking about some ironic favorites of mine. These are manga that are unapologetically bad. None of these are manga that I would even suggest you to read unless you have a particular interest in bad manga like I do. Starting out the list at number 100 is Friend Eater Classroom, a manga that completely belies and betrays the idea of friendship and nakama by having them eat each other. This is one of the most over-the-top and edgy death game manga I've ever read, so it has to be here. Following that up at 99 is King's Game, another awful death game manga that I, for some reason, masochistically made myself read. And then I also watched the anime, which is somehow even worse. King's Game is just trash, dude. It's so bad. I love it. And at number 98, we have R402, or more specifically, the translation of R402. See, this manga is pretty bad on its own, but the translator decided to completely troll everybody by giving the characters British slang. Like, we're talking extreme British dialect, along with an insane amount of meme humor, with a shocking number of references to Donald Trump. Don't read this manga, read the translation of this manga. At number 97 is Elfen Lied. Now, this one kind of borders on being unironic because I do genuinely think there are some good things about Elfen Lied, and it was the first manga I ever read over a decade ago at this point. That said, I can't really defend the manga where the main character just talks like a Pokemon and pisses all over on herself. Elfen Lied is kind of trash and there's no getting around that, unfortunately. I wish it was good, but like, come on, man. At number 96 is DeadTube, the manga about insane YouTubers doing horrible shit for clicks. This one's scarily close to the worst aspects of internet culture, and I talked about that in a recent video of mine. You should go watch that. But to put it in a word, cringe. DeadTube is one of the most cringe manga I've ever read. It always tries to outdo itself in being just the most despicable it possibly can, and it gets to a point where I can't do anything but laugh at it. At number 95 is Gigant. Now this one kind of hurts to put in ironic favorites because I wish that I genuinely loved it because I love Oku's previous works, Gantz and Inuyashiki. But come on, the ending of this manga, one of the worst I've ever seen, albeit I got some good laughs out of the ending. I mean, the main character is the most pathetic loser of all time. He's just a pussy, dude. And this manga's just not any good. What happened to Oku? Why is your art not good anymore? Why is your storytelling so bad? Moving out of irony and into manga that are not quite favorites of mine, but I still think are worth reading and including onto this list. These are manga that I don't particularly love, but I do respect, I like them, and I had a good time with them for various reasons. At 94, I have Cutie Honey, and I guess I could also throw Mazinger Z in here because I really only have them on this list at all. Because of their importance to manga in general, and how they're just early pioneers of their respective genres. Actually, you know what? I like robots more than magical girls, so Cutie Honey can go, Mazinger Z can stay. Cool. I think I'm not going to change my list anymore after that, I think. At 93, I have Ayashimon, and yes, it's a little disappointing that this manga did get cancelled after only 3 volumes, But I did think there was enough really good ideas here, and the art is really great. I like the characters. In spite of it being canceled, I still think that it's worth reading as long as you know that it's not really gonna go anywhere. At number 92, I have Bal, and I don't particularly love Bal, but this is essentially JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 0, and yeah, I love JoJo, as you're gonna learn very quickly on this list. So, like, that's pretty cool. It's great seeing where Araki got his true footing in this industry right before he made JoJo. This manga's not excellent, but hey, I love JoJo, so JoJo Part 0 gets a free pass onto this list, I guess. At number 91, I have Seraphim 266613336 Wings. God, could they have chosen a better name? I mean, Mamoru Oshii and Satoshi Kon are two visionaries, two of the best that ever did it in the anime industry, and yet they chose this name? If you weren't going to finish the manga, then at least give it a goddamn passable name. But seriously, this rare collab is pretty special just on paper. It's not like an amazing manga, it never got finished because their personalities and creative visions clashed so much they couldn't even continue it past one volume. But again, we're never gonna get a collab quite like this again, so make sure you read this one. You got me red-handed at number 90 with Genro Game. This one should probably be an ironic favorite, but I genuinely really liked this one as a fan of social games such as Mafia and Werewolf. And this one plays around with a lot of those ideas in some ways that are pretty cool to me, actually. At number 89, I have a feeling I'm going to get some people mad at me, but it's Uzumaki. I don't have it higher because I don't really love its story or its characters. This is one of 3 Junji Ito works I'm familiar with, and it's the only one I think I could at least say that I like. I really respect his artwork and his body horror, but Junji Ito just does not write characters that I care about or stories I find interesting. Maybe one day I'll come across a Junji Ito work that actually resonates with me, but this one, it's a good horror manga, but I don't love it quite as much as everyone else. At number 88 is Museum, a random horror manga that I read a long time ago. I have little to no recollection of it, but let's be realistic. I'm mostly putting this here just to piss off Uzumaki fans that, I put a lesser known horror manga right above one of the classics. May as well just put Yeti Curse of the Snow Demon right above Psycho, am I right? At number 87, I have Katsutoro Shiki, a manga that is gross as fuck. Don't read this if you have a weak stomach because it is stomach churning. This is a highly disturbed, abstract Goro manga that is quite frankly a little bit too much for even me at times. I really appreciate the more abstract and mind-bending elements of the manga. That's whenever I think Kago is at his most interesting, but in general, I have to put some respect on his name because he is the GOAT of what he does. At number 86, I have What a Wonderful World, a short anthology manga by Inio Asano, and if you've been curious to check out some of his other works like Goodnight Poon Poon, but you're too scared of the emotional damage that you're going to receive, you should maybe start with this one. There's a pretty cool narrative through line that connects the entire anthology, so that's why I picked this one as my favorite of his many anthologies that he's made over the years. At number 85, I have the GOAT, the king of Weekly Shonen Jump gag manga, Mori King. Okay, maybe that's going a little too far, but I do like Mori King. It's a pretty simple and enjoyable gag manga with likable characters. This one's not going to be making you roll on the floor laughing out loud, but I found myself thoroughly amused throughout all of its chapters, and it comes to a conclusion before things get too repetitive. At number 84, I have Deadpool Samurai, which was effectively mouth bleach for me after playing the game. I don't like that game at all. This isn't Deadpool's strongest outing ever, but it has a lot of really funny jokes about the manga industry, and there's a surprise in the second volume that was totally worth reading. Not every chapter here is outstanding, and generally I don't care about any of the characters that aren't Deadpool, but it's a good little read. At 83, I have Benonji. Yep, this is just a really simple slice of life manga. It's comfy. I don't remember a lot about it other than the feeling of just reading it and being relaxed. It's a good pastime, I would say.
My brethren, listen. Little cat and a cat, sometimes a duck. If you haven't read it, what are you doing with your life? This is a manga that will improve your mental health. It will improve your physique. It will improve your love life. It will improve you as a person. It will improve your position in society. Little Ken and a Cat, Sometimes a Duck is actually my #1 favorite manga of all time. I only put it this low because putting it any higher would give it too much power. Little Ken and a Cat, Sometimes a Duck is the GOAT of all manga. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. I hope you go out and read this manga and make some great changes to your life.
At number 81, I have Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days, and I gotta be honest, this is really just here to fulfill my love of Kingdom Hearts in general. I know it's a pretty cheesy and corny series, and this manga is no different, but I love my boy Roxas, and I love that little trio of characters in general, so it's fun having just kind of a goofy slice of life manga with the three, which is pretty befitting of the game anyways. At number 80, I have I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, which I initially left out of this list and then sacrificed something else to the manga gods to allow this to have an entry. But yeah, this is just a really sweet, little melodramatic, short form manga that I like a lot more than its anime adaptation, if I'm being honest. Nothing in this manga is out of this world mind-blowing. Nothing here is revolutionary to melodramatic stories, but it's cute enough, and I like the end twist actually quite a bit. Speaking of manga that I prefer over their anime adaptations, at 79, I have Deadman Wonderland, a manga that is aggressively brooding and edgy all the way through, and yet it still has an emotional tenderness to it and some empathy that I really appreciate. I know a good number of people kind of clown on the ending or don't think it's that good, but I actually think it's a pretty solid way to end a manga that was so in your face about how dark and cruel it was. For it to end in such an empathetic way, I actually kind of dig it. At 78, I have Tokidoki, a one-shot by the Nisekoi author, and this is actually a really emotionally tender and pretty sweet manga that I don't really think I ever expected from a rom-com harem mangaka. The twist that it ends up taking is pretty bittersweet and pretty emotional. I actually like this one-shot quite a bit. And also, Tokidoki may or may not be starting a trend of the 70s being really freaking depressing for no good reason. The party returns in the 60s. I promise. For now, onward to depression! Number 77 is Melancholia. This is the only Dalman manga I have read, but I thought this one was pretty good. I need to check out one of his manga that's not an anthology, though, and see how I feel about it. And number 76 is Our Happy Hours. Yeah, this one was really good. I did think that it should have been just a little longer, but maybe the point is that it is so brief that it's kind of a flash in the pan moment in this character's life. Maybe it would defeat the purpose a little bit if you made it longer, but just for like an emotional connection, I wish it was a bit longer. At number 75, I have Downfall, one of Inio Asano's most depressing and bleak manga he's ever made. This one definitely hurts to read. It is not an enjoyable time, and I can't say I really like any of the characters, but it's a really interesting look into the dark side of making manga. Number 74 is My Lesbian Experience with Loneliness. I want to be careful what I say here because I know this is a little bit of an autobiography, so I don't want to be dismissive of the creator's own issues in her personal life. But yeah, this one did just kind of feel like a little bit too self-deprecating and self-destructive for me to fully enjoy. Still, I appreciated looking into this person's perspective on their own life, and maybe I'll enjoy her later manga more. Maybe I won't. I don't know. For me, it's a little bit much, but I still think it's a really great depiction of someone going through a difficult time. Number 73 is Negative Happy Chainsaw Edge. I pretty much read this manga exclusively because it's written by the same guy that authored the original Welcome to the NHK novel. This is not on that level of Welcome to the NHK, but it is still pretty darn good. For being such a short manga, I thought it tackled an interesting idea and did it really well, actually. Number 72 is Burudengai. This is my placement for Kaiji, I guess, because I haven't read Kaiji yet, and this is basically like Kaiji, just kind of shorter and not as compelling, but hey, this was still a really fun read, and like, yeah. At number 71, I have Not Simple, and man, the 70s have just been stacked with depressing manga, and this one's no different. Not Simple is a crushing manga. At least from what I remember, there's no happy ending here. This is just a bleak, sad manga. I would like to read it again, though, because it's been nearly a decade since I read it, and I would like to see how it holds up. At number 70, I am continuing on the depression train with 3 Days of Happiness. This one is one of the better short form, little melodramatic stories, and I would really like to read this one again because it stuck with me a little bit more so than a lot of the others that are in this category. I think I would enjoy it more on a reread. Okay, I guess I'm just a gosh darn liar, because we're here at 69 and I have Neon Genesis Evangelion, the series as known for being about depression and mental unwellness. God, what's wrong with me? But seriously, I'm coming at this as a fan of the anime, and I don't know if that's really to the benefit or detriment of this manga, because I don't really love some of the changes that it makes, but other changes I thought were pretty cool. It's a mixed bag. I do prefer the anime, but hey, the manga's a pretty good version as well. Hallelujah, the Great Depression's over, because number 68 is Nisekoi, a rom-com harem that I started like a decade ago and I still haven't finished, but do I really care that much about the story? I mean, I read the ending because, again, I mean, I don't care that much about the story. It's just a comfort read. This is just a fun, simple rom-com that I've always had a soft spot for. And yeah, Chitoge is the best girl, and if you disagree, man, I feel sorry for your family that they have to put up with you. That's just rough. At number 67, I have Megu-chan. Also haven't finished this one, but I read it weekly for about 30 chapters, something like that. And yeah, this is also a really fun comedy manga. Liked this one a lot. Thought the gags were great. For a good while, this was one of my favorites that I was reading in Weekly Shonen Jump. I do need to get around to finishing it, though. At number 66, I have Phantom Seer, which is one of my favorite Weekly Shonen Jump manga that has been canceled. Yeah, this really goes to show that even canceled manga can be pretty good, because all things considered, I really love the artwork. I think the way that the horror is portrayed is really good. The characters are quite likable. Why do the good ones have to die? We'll never know, I guess. I mean, Roboco is from this time period and it's still around. Something's just not right in this world. There's injustice all around us, unfortunately. At number 65, I have Bungo Stray Dogs Beast. This one's a little weird because I didn't actually read Bungo Stray Dogs yet. I just decided to read this spin-off manga because, I don't know why I did. I just decided to, okay? And I thought it was pretty cool. It got me interested in Bungo Stray Dogs more than I was before I read it, so I think that's a pretty successful spin-off for me. At number 64, I have In This Corner of the World, and I've said my piece on it before, but to reiterate, and I want to be careful yet again because of the content matter, I do find this manga to be kind of boring and tedious to read. But what I've really come to terms with is that not all art is meant to serve entertainment. It's not all meant to be super fun and enjoyable. And so, despite my lack of personal enjoyment for this manga, I think artistically it is quite beautiful and it serves a purpose that I can truly appreciate despite not having fun while reading it. Number 63 is A Girl on the Shore. This one has some problematic stuff in it. And it is a little weird content wise, but I think what it's trying to do is really interesting. It's just this is not a manga I like talking about. Okay, I don't like talking about it because I think it could get misconstrued why somebody likes this manga. So I think I'll leave it at just saying it's not my favorite Inio Asano work, but I appreciate what he was doing here. At number 62, I have Homunculus, and this is another one that hurts to have this low because I really do wish I loved Homunculus more than I do. I thought a lot of aspects of the manga were great. In fact, I thought a lot of it was masterclass, but man, some of it just did not sit right with me. I don't really love a lot about the main character, and especially the way he goes towards the end of the manga. Plus, my guy eats his own sauce, bro. I can't get jiggy with that no matter how much I tried to enjoy this manga. That doesn't do anything for me other than make me wish I was reading another manga. I wish I loved Homunculus more than I do. I still think it's a really great manga, just not one that personally resonated with me in the way that I hoped it would. Okay, and with that, we are out of the not quite favorites territory and more in the low end favorites. These are manga that I do really like and I would consider favorites to some extent. I would just probably not die on a hill defending these. I wouldn't take a bullet for them for sure. Number 61 is the original One Punch Man webcomic. Absolutely hilarious. I love One's art style, actually, and I know that sounds like such a hipster thing to say, but I think there's such great comedy gold in the way that he draws. And he does actually have a lot of really cool paneling ideas. And you can see that in the remake because, well, Yusuke Murata literally took a lot of what was in the webcomic and just redrew it. So yeah, One Punch Man's webcomic, I think in some ways it's a little underappreciated, and I think more fans of One Punch Man should go read the original. At number 60, I have Burn the Witch, the manga that made me fall back in love with Bleach. And I know that's an entirely different manga, but I still think it's important to my experience with Burn the Witch. Because while I was reading it, I had an epiphany like, oh snap, I actually love Tite Kubo's artwork. I love the way he draws action and fashion, character designs, and I love the personalities that he gives those characters. I desperately want to see more of Burn the Witch because I think this is Kubo doing the Kubo things that I love most. I don't know if Kubo ever even has intentions of actually continuing Burn the Witch or not. It feels like it's just kind of in limbo right now, but if he does come back for more, I'll be excited for it. At number 59, I have Stargazing Dog. Yeah, this is the manga to read if you just kind of want your heart crushed, but you also want to read something pretty wholesome and cute. It's a weird mix, but yeah, this is a great little manga. It's kind of broken up into two parts, and I definitely prefer the first half, but whatever. On the whole, it's very good. At number 58, I have Marshall, an absolute blast. Loved reading this one weekly while I was reading it. I still haven't finished it. I kind of fell off midway through because the chapters were just so fast. I would wait a whole week for a chapter and then I would be done with it in 2 minutes. And I had enough. I just haven't gotten back to reading it, but absolutely loved reading it while I did. Thought it was a blast. Loved the characters and a lot of the jokes. Good manga. At number 57, I have Look Back by Fujimoto. This came out right after Chainsaw Man Part 1 ended, And yeah, this was kind of a little mind-blowing, just being like, wow, he took a break from Chainsaw Man and he's releasing still great manga. I would love to see him actually take a break from Chainsaw Man again at some point and go back to doing stuff like this, because this was just a really great break. It was a breath of fresh air after finishing part 1 of Chainsaw Man. At number 56, I have Seinen. I think that's how you pronounce it, by Inio Asano. Great manga. I also watched the live action movie like a long time ago and thought it was pretty good. Yeah, this is a good manga. Like it a lot. I don't feel like it is as emotionally impactful on me as it is for maybe some people, but still can't deny it that this is one of Inio Asano's better little short stories. At number 55, I have Demon Slayer. Yeah, Demon Slayer gets clowned on a lot for being pretty generic and stereotypical, and I get it. I don't think Demon Slayer is like the best battle shonen of even the past decade, not even close. But what it is a really solid, I guess, reinterpretation of a traditional standard battle shonen. Is it perfect? No, but I had a really good time with it overall. At number 54, I have Dragonhead. This manga it's dark. This manga really looks deep into your soul. Yeah, it's this is an underground classic. It's not something that you're gonna see everybody talk about, but those that know, they know. This manga it's scary in a way that I don't know how to communicate. I've never flipped to an entirely black page and ever felt as much despair and horror as I did with this one. You gotta read Dragonhead. At number 53, I have Beast Complex. I've yet to read Beastars, and I only read the first 2 volumes of Beast Complex back when it was only 2 volumes, because it got more volumes after Beastars concluded. I don't know, that's weird, but I really liked what I read quite a bit. I mean, this is the only manga I've ever read where I get to see a hot dog eating bat, and I love him. He's adorable. That's like half of the reason it's up this high. At number 52, I have Ozanari-kun, one of Inio Asano's most underrated and unknown manga he's ever made. It's also one of his most unique because it is this really absurdist humor gag manga, but it's also a BL, and I somehow really care about these 2 characters and their relationship, despite them being hella toxic to each other, and it being this absurd, crazy manga where anything could happen. But yeah, it somehow all works out, and this is one of my more favorite Inio Asano manga. I don't really understand it, but Ozanari-kun is really good, and more people need to get on it. At number 51, I have Goodbye Eri, the second manga that Fujimoto made during his break in between Chainsaw Man Part 1 and 2, and I do prefer this one a little bit over Look Back. I think the overall, I guess, artistic vision of this one is more unique and really out there. It's something I think only Fujimoto could have done, and yeah, I really do love this one. Finally, breaking into the top 50, I have Pokemon Adventures. Now, this is the manga that a lot of people will point to and say, this is how a Pokemon adaptation should be, while completely dismissing that the anime is more of a long-running Saturday morning cartoon kind of thing. I think the anime has its place, but the manga sits rightfully right next to it as an alternative. I think what stands out to me is that I really like the characters and the jokes surrounding the characters. It's actually pretty humorous at times. And as a Pokemon fan, of course I'm going to enjoy any time spent with the Pokemon themselves, and luckily they're pretty great here. Just like in the anime, they each have their own personalities that are worth getting attached to. At number 49, I have Persona 4. And yeah, this is a really great adaptation of the game. I made a video about why I think this one is leaps and bounds better than the adaptation that the same mangaka made for Persona 3. And you know, I don't think this replaces the game by any means. I would never recommend you to read this over playing it. But still, I like this one a lot, and I thought some of its ideas actually addressed some of the problems that I had with the game. And at number 48, I have 20th Century Boys. Yeah, And number 48, I think a lot of people are going to see that and think that's way too low. They would rather have it in the top 20 or top 10, maybe even the top 5. And you know what? That's fair. 20th Century Boys is great, and I do love Naoki Urasawa's works. This one just so happens to be not my favorite of his. I will say it has been like 7 years since I've read 20th Century Boys, and I do think a second reading would help. But for the time being, it's gonna have to sit here at 48th. At number 47, I have Pikmin. That's right, 20th Century Boy fans, you're gonna have to take the L on this one because Pikmin is my GOAT. But seriously, I grew up with Pikmin. I love the series to death, so I'm super biased here, but God, man, the comics are just so cute. Look at them. At number 46, I have Welcome to the NHK, which would be much higher if I actually liked the first 3 volumes, which cover the same content that was in the anime version, which is much better there. That said, the remaining 5 volumes are actually pretty great and a lot closer to what I wanted out of the manga. At number 45, I have Devilman, and I've talked about Devilman a good number of times in comparison to Chainsaw Man, and yeah, it's basically old school Chainsaw Man, and that means that it's pretty rad. This isn't my favorite manga or anything, but I do think it's the closest Go Nagai has gotten to writing a manga that was appealing to me personally. There's some really great retro artwork here. I think a lot of its story ideas are pretty ahead of its time. And yeah, it's violent as heck, dude. Making my day at number 44 is High School Family, one of my favorite gag manga I've ever read. Dude, any manga that has Gomez, a high school cat that looks like this, it's bound to be a favorite, right? While the artwork might turn off a lot of other people, I actually love its stilted look. I mean, it's not drawn particularly well, but I think it does a lot of legwork in making the jokes hit home. At number 43, I have Blame, a manga that has taken me a long time to really wrap my head around and fully understand and appreciate. And while I'm still a little lost on some of the story details, I think what's most important was what was communicated tonally and artistically. And yeah, this is easily my favorite thing I've read from Nihei. This is a great manga. So that wraps up the low-end favorites, and now we're getting into favorites that I feel like left a mark of some kind on me. These are ones that I will probably hold on to as being favorites to some extent forever. I really love all of these manga, and for one reason or another, they have a place in my life. At 42, I have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Part 2, Battle Tendency. Now, I'm going to be totally open and honest about my feelings. Part 2 is my least favorite part of JoJo, so expect the rest of the list to be plagued by JoJo. And by me saying that, I either just committed a war crime for having it that low, or for having it on this list at all, depending on who you are. Part 2 has kind of gotten a bad rep in a lot of the JoJo community, but there's still a very diehard fan base for it that believes it's the peak of the series. For me, I'm kind of in the middle. As much as it's my least favorite part of JoJo, I also think it's an insanely fun manga with great action and one of the funniest Joestars ever. Like, I get that some people don't like Joseph because he just wins fights by being goofy, but man, I just feel like you have to be a sad person to not like Joseph. Like, dude, he's such a fun and charismatic character. So don't take me putting part 2 at the bottom of my JoJo rankings as me not loving part 2. It's just that I love every part of JoJo that much. At the 41st spot, I have Fire Punch, and this was Tatsuki Fujimoto right before Chainsaw Man, and yeah, this is great. It has a lot of what I love about Chainsaw Man in it. It just so happens that it's a little rougher around the edges. It's a little bit more experimental and a little bit more unhinged. And because of that, I don't know how I feel about certain things towards the end of Fire Punch, but still, this is an incredible and very fun action manga. At number 40, I have Yona the Dawn. This is one of the shojo manga that I got myself into during the video where I forced myself to read shojo manga, and I have a lot of high hopes for Yona. I think that it will probably end up creeping up this list higher and higher the more I read of it, because so far I totally love its characters and the story that it's building out. Yona is a great protagonist, and I want to see more of her journey, because the first little leg of it that I've seen, I'm totally won over. All right, number 39 is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Part 1, Phantom Blood. That's right, it's a few spots above Part 2. What are you going to do about it? Suck my dick. This part's great. It's a lot better than people give it credit for. Jonathan is an absolute Chad and sets a precedent for JoJo's going forward. And let's not forget to bring up Dio, one of the best antagonists in JoJo. He has an absolutely killer dynamic with the main character, and both of them are just Chads. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Part 1's great. Number 38 is Kaguya-sama, Love is War. And I made a video about how my experience with this was kind of a little disappointing because I didn't love it quite as much as I wanted to. And I think that still holds true. But since I made that video over a year ago, I think I've let up on that a little bit, and I just choose to remember what good experiences I had with it. And overall, yeah, I had a great time with it. I love its characters, and I thought the comedy was really good, and at times the romance was pretty endearing. It's not like the perfect rom-com for me. I think there's certain things that could be different, but overall, I can't complain too much. I had a really wonderful time with the majority of Kaguya-sama. At number 37 is Kimi ni Todoke, another one of the shoujo manga I made myself read. However, I also did watch the anime nearly 10 years ago, and at the time, I really didn't like the second season, and that kind of soured my opinion of the entire franchise. But after nearly a decades of time since then, I went back and read the manga and just thought it was super endearing, wholesome, cute. Yeah, I just love the characters in Kimi ni Todoke. They're just so lovable. At number 36 is Dandadan, an exceptionally fun and endearing manga. However, my feelings on this one have eroded just a little bit, and the main cause of that was, I think, getting a little burned out reading it as it was coming out, so I put it on hold around chapter 70. And also on top of that, not really knowing who the antagonist was going to be, what was going to be the end point of the manga, I felt like we weren't getting anywhere for a while, and I think that turned me off from Dandadan just a little bit. I could be wrong, though. I am way behind on it, so I probably need to catch up and reassess where I currently feel with Dandadan, because at the time, this was like a top 15 manga for me. I loved it so much for those first, handful of volumes I was reading. I just want to see it make progress in the near future, so hopefully the current chapters have been doing that. I guess I'll just have to see. At number 35 is Bakuman, and this manga is so cool. It's one of the coolest manga that I've actually gotten to sit down and just read some of. I haven't finished it yet, which is unfortunate, but I do really like taking my time and savoring it, because understanding more about the manga industry and hearing about all these little things I never otherwise would have heard is always a treat. I love that a lot. I'm not like totally won over by all the characters or the love story, but otherwise, Bakuman's a great look into manga creation. Making it onto this list at 34 is A Silent Voice, and I would love to read this one again because it's been 7 or 8 years since I've read it, and now I have these beautiful hardcovers that Kodansha recently released. I would love to experience it that way, because I do like A Silent Voice a ton. I've watched the movie a couple of times, and it's an amazing work. I think I would appreciate the manga even more now than I did when I initially read it. Making a surprisingly high placement at 33 is Jujutsu Kaisen, and I say surprisingly because on my initial impressions, I didn't really like Jujutsu Kaisen that much. I was pretty dismissive of it and impartial to its characters. But over time, I've come to really appreciate Jujutsu Kaisen, and I have a lot of fun reading it. I think its battles are a lot of fun. Its power system is needlessly complex sometimes, but also I appreciate the amount of detail that goes into it. And yeah, some of the story directions that heads later into the story, I think are really awesome. A classic among classics comes in at number 32, Dragon Ball. Now this encompasses both the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, which is just one manga that I read from front to back, and I see it as one whole piece, as it should be. Yeah, what a great, fun, adventure, action, battle manga. It is very simple by today's standards, but I think a lot of people downplay it despite how well it does those simple things. If anything, Dragon Ball would probably be higher on this list if it weren't for the fact that I cannot stand the Buu saga. It's one of my least favorite arcs in any battle shonen, and I hate Goten. Goten is the bane of my existence. Easily my least favorite manga or anime character ever made. Fuck that guy. Okay, now we're really talking, because we're getting into considerably high-end favorites. These are not just great manga, these are manga that I personally love and I have a lot of attachment to. Starting at number 31, I have Tokyo Ghoul. Now this is a manga that took its time getting its fangs into me, because I didn't actually finish it until the last year or two, despite starting it all the way back when the anime first started. And now I'm stuck here where I still haven't even read Tokyo Ghoul Re, but from fan reception, I'm not like dying to go read it. I will eventually, but for now, I will say the original Tokyo Ghoul manga is actually a really great read and surprisingly has a lot of great things in it. At number 30, I have the manga that helped kickstart my channel back up into gear last year in 2022, and that would be Chobits. This is a manga that has a lot of great things to say, and even though the characters may come across as a little generic, I think each one is written out to be a fully formed and fleshed out character. And each character brings a really great perspective into this world of robots and love, and it comes together in a really beautiful way. At number 29 is Hell's Paradise, an awesome battle shonen that mixes in battle royale / death game elements as a hint of horror in it. This is a really great dramatic battle shonen with high stakes. Probably one of the lesser known manga on my list comes in at 28, Dinosaur Sanctuary. I adore this manga, and I know that it will go up higher on my list the more I read of it, because Dinosaur Sanctuary is basically Jurassic Park, but if things went well. And I love dinosaurs. It's something I probably am never going to talk about at length, but I love paleontology. I love dinosaurs. I grew up with things like Jurassic Park and the game Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, or the Zoo Tycoon expansion packs with dinosaurs. I grew up as a dinosaur kid, and I continue to love dinosaurs now. I love paleontology. I love learning about dinosaurs. This is the perfect manga for me. It explores everything that I love about dinosaurs and has really great little stories about taking care of individual dinosaurs and learning different traits about them. This is a manga I'm very passionate about, and I only have it down this low because I've only read 2 volumes of it. I need more of it. There's a 3rd volume out in English now, and I need to go read it because, God, I love Dinosaur Sanctuary. Expect this in my top 20, if not my top 10 eventually, because this is a manga made for me. At number 27 is Genshiken, a fantastic slice of life manga that has a good amount of drama, but what I really love about it is how it explores different aspects of otaku culture through each individual character, because they all love different aspects of anime or video games, manga. They all have their different little things, and it's really fun to see how they interact because of that. Great manga, great characters. Definitely go read Genshiken. At number 26, I have Pluto, which is one of my favorite Naoki Urasawa works, only behind Monster. If it hasn't become obvious enough, I really love robotics and stories about robots. So Naoki Urasawa tackling those ideas through the lens of Astro Boy, totally worth reading. Great mystery, great characters, great themes, great emotions. Pluto's awesome. At number 25, I have Gantz, and this manga is obviously not for everyone, but those that it is for will get why. Gantz is just awesome, dude. This is the only manga that you're ever gonna find where a guy is wielding a 20-foot katana fighting giant alien space dinosaurs that are also kind of like ghosts or zombies alongside like a vampire and a psychic, all right? Gantz is fucking insane. It's one of the craziest manga ever, and the character development of Kei, the protagonist, is surprisingly really great. I really just don't know how this man fell down to writing Gigant after this, but what can you do? At least he has Gantz and Inuyashiki to prove himself. At number 24, I have JoJo Part 3, Stardust Crusaders, one of the most fun manga I've ever read, and I nearly completed it on a single road trip back in 2016, I think. This was the part that convinced me that JoJo was something special and that I really loved it. Not every bit of it's perfect, and the anime adaptation is a little slow, which I do think has hurt its reputation a little. But Part 3 still remains to be one of the most fun experiences I've ever had reading manga. Controversially, number 23 is Attack on Titan, and I could see some people being upset that this isn't higher. I could see other people thinking it should be lower because the ending ruined everything. I'm kind of in the middle. For the most part, I'm like, yeah, the last arc wasn't great, but that was only the last arc of a pretty long and really great, fun, entertaining manga. It does help for me that I am a fan of kaijus, and I love just big, powerful monsters. There's a lot of ferocity in Attack on Titan, and that's what I really love about it so much. It's just how visceral it can be at times. Attack on Titan is not perfect, and I don't totally love the ending, but still, I don't think that its name has been totally tarnished for me just because it had a couple scenes that I wasn't a big fan of, or an arc that wasn't a 10 out of 10. At number 22, we go back to the world of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with Part 8, JoJolion. This part is obscenely hard for me to be able to rate or rank in a list like this because I feel really split on it. Personally, I think the first half of Part 8 is one of the strongest sections in all of JoJo. I love Gappy as a character. I love his relationship with Yasuho. I love finding out little details about what's going on with him and who he is. The mystery that starts unraveling around this time and the characters that you get introduced to are all incredible. Unfortunately, the second half kind of loses me a little bit. All those things that I really love are just not quite there anymore. His relationship with Yasuho feels like it's put on an indefinite hold. The mystery kind of gets pulled back enough that I don't really find it interesting learning new stuff. And ultimately, I don't care about the antagonist. I have a lot of negative to say about Part 8, and I kind of hate that because the positives I have to say are astronomically strong. I love half of Part 8 enough that I would put it in my top 5, but the other half really does bring it down. Overall, I still love Part 8, just not as much as I did for the first half. To bounce back from that, at 21, I have Spy Family, one of my favorite ongoing comedies and slice of life manga. I love Anya so much. Like, she's one of the best characters that I think have came out of manga in a long time. She's endlessly lovable and hilarious. Spy Family's not like the deepest thing of all time, but I do like what it's doing with its themes, like here and there, and its comedy is always gold to me. At number 20, I have One Punch Man, the remake manga by Yusuke Murata. And dude, One Punch Man is insane. It's the only manga that I've seen where an entire chapter of 20 pages was just animation. Like, One Punch Man actually animates as you flip through the pages. That is not normal. And I say that in the best way possible. There's a lot of great satire in One Punch Man. I think the characters are really cool and fun. And I think it's kind of at the apex of what you can do with manga. Even if it's not like the greatest manga of all time, I really do think it maximizes everything you could do in this industry. Okay, so if it sounded like I really loved those previous manga and could get passionate about them, this is where we enter manga that I truly adore. These are manga that hold a significant place in my life. I love these. I think about them all the time. I love talking about them. I love thinking about them. I love reading them. I just truly adore the following manga. At number 19, but hopefully higher in the future, is JoJo Part 9, JoJo Lands. If you couldn't guess by the fact that Part 5 hasn't appeared yet, I am a very, very big fan of JoJo Part 5, and so seeing Part 9 take ideas from Part 5 and implement it into its story, I really fucking love everything that it's doing so far. Now, obviously, this is a big, big asterisk because it's still early days for JoJo Lands. There's a lot of story left to go, and this could just end up being like a Part 8 situation where I don't love the way it goes. I don't love the direction that it takes. I just hope it doesn't go that way because thus far, I've loved everything about Part 9. It is slowly but surely creeping its way up my favorite manga and favorite JoJo parts. And if it keeps going at the rate that it is, I fully expect this to be one of my favorite JoJo parts by the end because it is so freaking good so far. At number 18, I have A Sign of Affection. This is my favorite shoujo manga for the moment. It's one of the ones that I talked about in my video, and I have read more since then, and I continue to love this manga. The characters are so endearing and cute and lovable and interesting. I love that it's pretty comfy and wholesome. There's a little bit of drama, but for the most part, it's not that crazy thus far. I love a lot of what it's doing with Yuki being a deaf girl who's now entering her first ever relationship. I love her as a character so much. Can't wait to read more of this one. At number 17 is Bleach. And this one is really riding off the heels of nostalgia and how much I love the Soul Society arc. I'm not going to get into talking about whether Bleach fell off or got worse over time. I honestly need to just go and read Bleach from the beginning all over again to have a fully established opinion on that. And I'm not really here to say what I think on that either way. Because at the end of the day, Bleach is a manga that I grew up with in a lot of ways. The anime was the second anime I ever watched back in 2012. So I've been a Bleach fan for over a decade at this point. And it holds a very special place in my heart. And right before Bleach, at number 16, I have Death Note, which was the first anime I ever watched. And I only got around to reading the manga in the past couple years, but man, it is the best version of Death Note by a mile. As much as I love a lot of things about the anime and the directing of it, I think it's a very fun way to watch Death Note. The manga is so much more fully formed and well thought out. The dialogue is a lot better and more expansive. The reasoning and logic behind it is more fully clear. There's a lot about the manga that I specifically love that the anime doesn't really touch on. And I made a full video about that, so you can go watch that. One day I will get around to making a video specifically about the manga where I don't even really talk about the anime at all. At number 15, I enter into depression as I read Goodnight Poon Poon. This used to be my favorite manga many years ago when I was at a very different point in my life, and I'm just not there anymore. And that's okay. I still really love Poon Poon, but it doesn't hold the same relevance in my life currently. It's more like something I look back on and can appreciate for what it did for me at one specific time. This is still one of the greatest manga ever made. It's incredibly well written. It's really funny. It's really dark. It's really haunting. This is a dark, dark manga that will make you see life a little differently, but it's great. At number 14, I have my favorite sports series, Haikyuu. I love this manga, dude. It is so freaking good. It is everything that I could ask for out of a sports series. It has incredibly fun characters. Its matches are insanely hype. The drama's great. The character chemistry is there. And most of all, it has one of the best victory laps of any manga I've ever seen, going as far as having a multi-volume epilogue that really sees to it that these characters are completely finished. This is one of the best endings in any manga ever, okay? Because it went the extra mile. Where another manga would have ended, Haikyuu says, what if we take it further? What if we really push these characters to their limits and get everything out of the series that we could without dragging anything out? It doesn't miss a beat. Haikyuu is fucking awesome, dude. At number 13, we go back to JoJo with part 6, Stone Ocean. This part took a long time for me to warm up to, but I'm finally here, and I appreciate it more than ever. I still have a lot of problems with it, like I don't love a lot of its characters, the stands are mixed, and the first third of the manga, or maybe even the first half, is kind of hard to sit through for me, but the payoff is so good. I said for Haikyuu that it has one of the best endings ever, and that also applies here. JoJo Part 6, it's such a monumental and beautiful ending, and I think that a lot of what it does emotionally resonates with me enough for me to push past those kind of negative feelings towards a lot of the other elements of Part 6. Enough so that I can say I truly love and adore this manga. It's one of my favorite JoJo parts. It took some time to get there, but I'm here now, and I love it. Continuing on with JoJo, at number 12, I have Part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. Of every JoJo part, this one is easily the most enjoyable. It's so easy to sit down and relax with these characters, to explore the world of Morio. Even if you're not a JoJo fan, if you watched maybe the first part or two, maybe you even tried getting through some of 3 and it just wasn't clicking for you, try Part 4. I don't ever agree with part skipping, but I really do think that for somebody that's struggling with JoJo, I do think Part 4 changes up the dynamic so much. Its chemistry is completely different. What it's really doing is trying to get you attached to this one location and all of the characters that live within it. I love JoJo Part 4. It's one of my favorites. For a long while, it was my favorite. These characters are some of the best in the series. The stands are awesome. I love being here in the world of Morio. At number 11, I have Dorohedoro. This manga rules. Everything about it is sick. The artwork, great. The characters, great. The story, great. The mystery, great. Everything about Dorohedoro is great. I really have no qualms with Dorohedoro. It's one of my favorite manga for a reason. Everything about it is dark, it's gritty, but it's also bizarrely wholesome and endearing. It's pretty comforting. This is not a berserk, okay? Dorohedoro might get lumped in with your berserks, vagabonds, Vinland Sagas, and all that. It's nothing like those. This is more like just a really fun and dark comedy. with some great mystery in it. Some of the most infectiously lovable characters ever put on page land in this manga. You have to read Dorohedoro if you have yet to. At number 10, to no one's surprise, I have Chainsaw Man. Wow, who would have guessed? The guy with 10, 20, 30 videos on Chainsaw Man has Chainsaw Man in his top 10. Yep, this is my favorite Shonen Jump manga the past decade, and one of my favorite manga in general. Great characters, incredible action, really great violence. I love the drama of it. I love the human aspects of Chainsaw Man. This is a very human story to me. And I really love a lot of part 2 so far, though I feel a little nervous for it. I feel a bit iffy on some of the most recent happenings in the story. I'm not going to get into talking about it too much, but I just hope that by the end I still love Chainsaw Man as much as I do currently. This is kind of a reserved spot for it right now because it could drop like a fly if things go in a direction I'm not really feeling. But I do feel like if it nails the ending, then it will probably also go up higher into my top 10. Because I really love part 1 overall, and part 2 has been great. Just want to see where the story goes, where it's heading, because the story does mean a lot to me, and I hope that Fujimoto is able to properly end it in a way that feels satisfying. At number 9, I have a classic, one of my old favorites, Full Metal Alchemist. This was one of the first anime I ever watched, and I loved it. I loved 2003, and then I loved Brotherhood, and then I kind of hated Brotherhood and became a 2003 fanboy, and then I started loving Brotherhood again, and I decided to settle it all for once by reading the manga, and it's the best version of FMA. The manga is better than 2003, and it's better than Brotherhood. This is the version of FMA to read. Fantastic character writing. Great world building. One of the best power systems in any battle shonen. A lot of the philosophies it explores are not like crazy deep or too intellectual to understand, but are really compelling nonetheless. Full Metal Alchemist to me is a journey, and it's a journey that I could take an infinite number of times. It's a classic for a reason. At number 8, I have Hunter x Hunter. I love this manga for so many reasons. I love so many of its arcs. I mean, every arc is a banger. Hunter Exams, banger. Heaven's Arena, banger. York New, banger. Greed Island, banger. Chimera Ant, one of the best shonen arcs ever made, banger. And then even the election arc, kind of a banger. Everything about Hunter x Hunter is so good. It's so interesting. It offers one of the most compelling worlds ever. It has so much to say, and it kind of sneaks up on you because it seems like it's a fairly standard, maybe simple battle shonen with a couple little weird things thrown in here. But a lot of what it has to say really sneaks up on you towards the end of Chimera Ant, and it's like, whoa, this manga's saying some deep shit. And I love Gon and Killua. They're one of my favorite pairs in any manga. Great characters, and I love their dynamic. Their relationship is so good. Hunter x Hunter, banger manga. All right, we are getting deep into the top 10. We're nearing the end of my top 100 manga. We're past the point where I truly adore manga. I don't have a choice anymore with these remaining ones. These manga mean the world to me. They have a place in my life and in my heart day to day. I think that my life would actively be a little worse, a little sadder if I didn't have these next manga. And starting out, I have number 7, Naruto. I know some people may think that I have Naruto ranked a little too high when I'm putting it above other beloved battle shonen like Hunter x Hunter, Chainsaw Man, and Full Metal Alchemist, but I really couldn't care less. I have a very personal attachment to this series that can't just be replicated by any other battle shonen, no matter how good it may or may not be, or if it's even better than Naruto. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I'm not sitting here telling you that I think Naruto is a better written work than Hunter x Hunter just because I put it one spot higher. That's not really the point. The thing about Naruto is that I have a very personal and deep history with it, that is hard to explain. It's something that it gets into a lot of personal life experience, that I guess I just don't really feel like it's time to talk about right now. Maybe one day I'll feel more comfortable making a video about it or speaking on it more publicly, but I do love Naruto for that reason. And on top of that, I do think Naruto is actually still a very, very solid battle shonen. I think a lot of its strengths get downplayed by fans of other series just because it isn't as dark or gritty, or it isn't as intellectually stimulating. Naruto never needed to be any of that. At the end of the day, Naruto is a very positive and optimistic work that really speaks on empathy and overcoming hatred. I mean, it really has a lot of positive traits. It has a lot of good messages that I think youth could really use. I think a lot of people in general could use. At the end of the day, Naruto is a great battle shonen with a lot of heart, some really wonderful characters, and even though it occasionally gets a little messy, Naruto is still a great work, and I love it, and I probably always will. And as hard as that is to follow up, at number 6, I have Twin Star Exorcist, one of the most underrated and underappreciated battle shonen that's currently out there. It's a monthly manga that I love reading each and every month. I do chapter reviews of it on my second channel. It's always a blast. I think you can watch those videos. You could just tell how much I love reading it. Every time that new chapter rolls around every month, I get pretty giddy. I'm always excited to read the next chapter because where it currently is, which is in the climax, it's currently in the climax of the story. We are in the last arc right now. So many exciting things are happening in Twin Star. It's a perfect time to start reading it. If I had to summarize why I love it this much, it really has to do with Benio and Rokuro, the two main characters of the manga. They're two of my favorite characters ever made in manga, and I love them even more as a couple. As the story progresses, you just really see their relationship develop over the course of all the battles that they partake in, all the things that happen to them in this story. It has some of the best romantic progression I've ever seen in a manga, despite it being a battle shonen. I always say this, and I mean it wholeheartedly, that Twin Star Exorcist has better romantic progression than most romance manga do. And I love their relationship so much that I honestly kind of aspire to have a relationship like them, in my own personal life, in my own romantic life. I try to take away certain things from these characters and how they treat each other, and I try to be inspired by that, to be the best partner that I can be, because I see it in these characters and I admire it. I think it's so endearing, it's sweet, they're wholesome. And it does really help that me and my girlfriend are both equally as big of fans of the series as each other. We both love Twin Star, we love Rokuro and Benio. And for me, as corny as it sounds, like, I do want to be the Rokuro to her Benio, all right? You know, I know it sounds cheesy, and it's not necessarily good to strive to be the ideal fictional couple, you know, but I am always trying my best, and I think out of every romantic pair I've ever seen in manga or anime, Rokuro and Benio are the ones that inspire me to keep a healthy, happy relationship built on trust and respect. That's why the anime is also trash. Don't watch the anime. The anime is so bad. I made a video on that. You should go watch that. It's probably my favorite video I've ever made. But yeah, for now, that's Twin Star Exorcist. Fucking love this manga. At number 5, I have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Part 5, Golden Wind. Is it a coincidence that I put Part 5 at number 5? Maybe, I don't know. All I know is that this is very nearly my favorite part of JoJo, and in some ways, I consider it pretty much equal. Once we get to this point in my list, I love all these manga just so much that it doesn't really matter if we're separating them by 1 or 2 entries. I love Part 5 so much. This to me is the peak of battle shonen, period. Part 5 has everything that I look for in a good battle shonen, and in some ways it kind of set the standard for what I really love about battle shonen. What I'm looking for is great duality between a protagonist and antagonist. I'm looking for fantastic power systems and great fights. I'm looking for a cast of characters with great synergy. And Part 5 excels on all of those fronts and then some. It has incredible characters and the group of characters in general. This is important. All the characters are incredible as individuals, but their group synergy, one of the best in any manga. Incredible group synergy. Love the gang together. They're all great. I love stands for the entirety of JoJo, of course, but Part 5 takes the cake in terms of creative abilities, inventive powers, and really beautiful designs. Araki truly did hit his stride in terms of making stands my favorite power system in all of manga. And I have to shout out Sex Pistols and King Crimson as my 2 favorite stands ever. They are truly wonderful powers. I love them both dearly. It's very rare that I get excited for a character's powers as much as I do the characters themselves. And the stands here, I love them just about as much as the characters who willed them. Yeah, at the end of the day, this to me is the apex of battle shonen. It is everything that I want battle shonen to be. It is everything that I love about battle shonen. I love Part 5, man. This is, for all intents and purposes, just as much my favorite JoJo part as the one remaining. Who knows what that part is? At number 4, I have One Piece. And I know. I said JoJo Part 5 is the apex of battle shonen. And that's true. It's just that One Piece is the apex of adventure manga. Okay, maybe that's a little bit of a cop-out, but I think it's true for me. One Piece is not necessarily like the most mechanically amazing battle shonen of all time. It's not even necessarily the greatest action manga of all time. What it is, though, is an incredible adventure. If there's any manga that embodies the word journey, it's One Piece. One Piece is a journey. It's this massive, incredible, long story that spans this huge world full of so many characters, over 1,000 named characters, and every one of them is memorable and funny or interesting or even compelling. Every character has a place in this world. And that's really the journey, going to all these new locations and meeting all these new characters and finding out what their problems are and solving it for them, or fighting the big bad to liberate these people. Man, like One Piece really is just the most fun adventure I've ever had, like in anything. This world is incredible. Its characters are incredible. I can't wait to see where it goes in the next few years, because it is inevitably going to be ending in the near future. We're heading towards the end, and I just can't wait to see how everything wraps up in this incredibly beautiful world of One Piece. This is an adventure I could go on time and again. I could spend forever with the Straw Hats. I love each and every character, and really all these emotional moments that have happened throughout the story, all these memorable set pieces, all the memories that have just been made. Like, there's just no other manga that is doing that better than One Piece. No manga is better at being One Piece than One Piece itself. Really, the reason it is this high is just because it brings me continuous joy. It makes me laugh. It makes me feel good. It's a very positive part of my life. It's something that brings me a lot of happiness each and every time I read it again. And I go back to this world and I go back to that little ship with all the straw hats. I love One Piece, and I'm going to be reading it for years to come. And now we are at the point where there's only 3 manga left. And I would consider these 3 manga my pillars. These are my 3 pillars of manga. Any of these could be my favorite. Honestly, I have them ranked here, but I could swap them. I've said number 3 is my number 1. I've said my number 1 is my number 2, and so on. These 3, the order really doesn't matter that much. I just put them in the order that I think is the closest to how I currently feel, and also what I think is the most interesting. But yeah, I adore these upcoming 3 manga so much. And that all starts with JoJo Part 7, Still Ball Run. I have made it abundantly clear that I am a JoJo fan, a hardcore JoJo fan. I'm a Part 1 defender, okay? I love all 9 parts. I mean, where do I even begin? This is just one of the best journeys you could ever take in manga. And it's kind of weird because I said that also about One Piece, but they're great journeys in 2 totally different ways. What I mean is that One Piece is this ever expansive and wonderful world where you could imagine anything ever, and it probably exists in this world. Any character you could think of, Oda's probably made them before. Part 7's not like that at all. Instead, it's a lot more small and intimate of a journey that still feels very grand. You really do feel like you're just following these 2 guys going on horseback across the US. It's very small and intimate. There's not a lot of main characters, but you get to know those main characters so well. And every character that does come into the story has weight and importance. And then those characters are so multi-layered and compelling, with one of the best antagonists in all of manga and my personal favorite protagonist ever. Johnny Joestar is, to me, my favorite character in anything. I love his journey, his growth as a character so much. A lot of people seemingly like to dog on Johnny despite Part 7 being the unanimous fan favorite, but Johnny to me is Araki's character writing just hitting a new level of compelling, of emotionally dynamic, and engaging. I love Johnny so much. He's such a great reframing of previous Joestars, and it helps that he is also accompanied by Gyro, my second favorite character in the entire series. These 2 are such an amazing duo. They're one of my favorite pairs in all of manga. Probably my favorite pair, honestly. Johnny and Gyro have incredible chemistry. Each of their flashbacks and their stories, their backstories, incredible. Some of the best character writing in all of JoJo. I love their humor bouncing back and forth. Out of every part of JoJo, this one sells the idea of true friendship better than any other. I genuinely believe in these 2 as friends and that they have each other's back no matter what happens in the story. If there's any other bizarre adventure that I would rather take, I haven't seen it because Part 7 is easily my favorite. And at number 2, I have Berserk. It shouldn't be any surprise that Berserk is this high on any top 10 or top 100 list. I mean, it's Berserk, okay? Most people love Berserk, and it's for good reason. Berserk is one of the greatest manga ever made, with one of the best stories ever told, with some of the best artwork ever drawn. Kentaro Miura really will be missed. I still get kind of shaken up when I think about the fact that Miura worked for so long. His blood, sweat, and tears that he put into this manga, and yet he'll never be able to see it finish. He'll never be able to finish Berserk himself. It's truly heartbreaking. It's really hard to parse and think about. It's one of the worst tragedies that has happened in the manga industry. Losing Miura, that's a true loss. We really did lose someone special here, one of the greatest creators this industry has ever had. And so, with that said, I try to live each and every day to my fullest. And when I do come back to Berserk, when I think about it, I just try to cherish the work that Miura was able to put into it. I think that's how you keep the memory of someone alive. You continue to cherish what they did, continue to cherish all the work that they put into it. Miura's artwork will forever be incredible. His storytelling will forever be awe-inspiring. Berserk just means a lot to me. It's something that has been with me throughout my teenage years and now into my mid-20s, my adult life. It's just stuck by me that entire time as something I could come back to and be passionate about, that I could share with others. I truly, from the bottom of my heart, as deep as I can dig, I love this story and everything that it's about. I love Guts, and I can't thank Miura enough for making such a beautiful and emotionally involved story about healing and overcoming your own demons. I just look forward to seeing what Studio Gaga and Mori are able to bring to the table and how they're able to conclude the story of Berserk for Miura. Wish he could be here for it. I wish Miura could be the one to do it, but I'm glad that one of his best friends and his assistants I spent many years working with are able to fulfill that dream for him. And I'll leave it at that. Berserk is never going to be leaving the top 10. I'll tell you that much. It's forever here. As unoriginal as that opinion may be, it's stuck here. That leaves only one more title. So what could be my number one favorite manga? It's Space Brothers. This is one of the most underappreciated and overlooked manga ever. I already know you haven't watched it, you haven't read it. Chances are you don't even know what Space Brothers is. Well, let me tell you, Space Brothers is the most optimistic, beautiful, and inspiring manga I've ever read. It's about life itself. It's about overcoming challenges that life throws at you. It's about the ups and downs in life. It's about all the people that you meet in life that make it special. Space Brothers continuously gives me hope. It makes me feel like everything will be okay if I just try my best and I move forward. I am continuously inspired by its messages, by its sheer positivity, by how much it just really shines a ray of hope into my life. It makes me feel so thankful to be alive. It encourages me to get up off my feet and do what I can to make my life what I want it to be. I have Space Brothers to thank for so much joy, so many laughs, so many tears, so many great experiences, many of which I experienced with the love of my life, who also loves Space Brothers. Thank you for getting me into Space Brothers, by the way. I really appreciate it. It's always been a good time reading Space Brothers with you. This is my favorite manga, and I really want more people to read it. Space Brothers is so uplifting, and I think a lot of people could use something this positive in their lives. I really think that if you need something to uplift you, if you need something to make you feel like things are going to be okay, you should read Space Brothers. I want to talk a lot more about Space Brothers and why it is my favorite manga. So that's why the next video I'll be making is about Space Brothers and why you should read it if you haven't already. Until then, this has been my top 100 favorite manga, Space Brothers, #1 favorite. Hope you enjoyed the video.